The desert had a way of changing men long before they realized it. Caleb Rourke used to think he understood it. The silence, the heat, the endless stretch of land that swallowed both footprints and regrets. Years ago, he had come into the Wild West with a badge pinned to his chest and a belief that right and wrong were as clear as the horizon line. That belief had died somewhere out there, buried beneath dust and bad decisions. Now he lived alone, far from towns and people, in a small wooden cabin wedged between rock and emptiness, where the wind spoke louder than memory. He didn't expect anything new to find him. But the desert always had its own plans. That afternoon, the sky shimmered under a brutal sun, and the land looked like it was melting into itself. Caleb rode slowly along a narrow ridge, his horse picking careful steps across loose stones. He wasn't looking for trouble, but he had learned long ago that trouble didn't need to be invited. That was when he saw it. A strange glint of light in the distance, unnatural, sharp, and reflective. Not the dull shine of a wagon wheel or the glimmer of water. This was different. He narrowed his eyes and turned his horse toward it. As he got closer, the shape began to form, and Caleb felt something shift uneasily inside him. It wasn't a wagon. It wasn't anything he had ever seen before. The thing sat low on the ground with four thick wheels, its body made of smooth metal, dented and scarred as if it had been through something violent. It looked like it didn't belong to this world. Caleb dismounted, his boots hitting the hot ground. He approached slowly, one hand resting near his revolver. The wind moved through the open space with a low, hollow sound, like a warning. The door of the strange machine was half open. Inside, something moved. Caleb froze. Then he heard it, a faint breath. He stepped closer and leaned in. A woman lay slumped inside, barely conscious. Her skin was pale beneath a coating of dust, her dark hair tangled around her face. There was blood, dried and fresh, along her side. Her clothes were strange, tighter than anything he had seen, made from material that didn't look like cotton or leather. But her face told him something else. Apache. Her eyes flickered open, dark and sharp even through exhaustion. She looked at him, confused, as if she were trying to place where she was, or when. "Don't move," Caleb said quietly. "You're hurt." She tried anyway, wincing as pain shot through her body. Her hand gripped the edge of the seat. "Where am I?" she whispered. Caleb let out a slow breath, glancing out at the endless desert. "You're in a place most folks don't come back from." Her gaze shifted slightly, scanning the land as if it meant something different to her than it did to him. "The Jeep," she murmured weakly. Caleb frowned. "The what?" She lifted her hand slightly, pointing around her. "This vehicle." He stepped back and looked at it again. "I don't know what that is," he admitted. "But it sure ain't from anywhere I know." She closed her eyes briefly, as if trying to steady her thoughts. "You shouldn't be here," she said softly, though it wasn't clear if she meant him, or herself. Caleb studied her for a moment. He had lived long enough to trust his instincts, and right now, they were telling him two things at once. She was trouble, and she needed help. He sighed. "Well," he said, "I ain't leaving you to die." Without waiting for her to argue, he reached in and carefully lifted her. She was lighter than he expected, her strength almost gone. She didn't resist, though her body tensed slightly, unsure. "My name's Caleb," he said as he carried her toward his horse. She hesitated, then whispered, "Ayanna." The name settled in the air between them like something important. The ride back to his cabin was slow. Caleb kept one arm steady around her to keep her from falling, guiding the horse with the other. The desert stretched endlessly in every direction, but for once, it didn't feel empty. It felt watchful. By the time they reached the cabin, the sun was sinking low, casting long shadows across the. Caleb carried her inside and laid her on the bed, immediately getting to work cleaning her wounds. She drifted in and out of consciousness, her breathing uneven. "You're safe," he said at one point, though he wasn't sure why he said it. Maybe because he needed to believe it himself. When Ayanna woke properly, it was morning. Light spilled through the window, warm and steady. For a moment, she looked confused, her eyes scanning the unfamiliar room. "You're still here," she said when she saw him. Caleb leaned back in his chair. "Where else would I be?" She studied him carefully, as if trying to understand him beyond his words. "This place, it's wrong," she said quietly. How so? She hesitated. Time, she said. It's not right. Caleb frowned. Time's always been the same where I'm from. She shook her head slightly. No, I'm not from here, not from this time. Silence filled the room. Caleb didn't laugh, didn't call her crazy. He just looked at her, then toward the door where that strange machine sat outside. That thing yours? He asked. Yes, she said. It's called a Jeep. Well, Caleb replied, it sure don't belong in my world. Ayanna met his gaze. Neither do I. As days passed, her strength returned slowly. Caleb showed her how to move carefully, how to conserve energy, how to survive in a place that offered nothing freely. In return, Ayanna spoke of things he had never imagined, machines that moved without horses, cities that stretched endlessly, a world where time moved differently. Caleb didn't understand most of it, but he listened, and somehow, he believed her. At night, they would sit outside under the vast sky, watching the stars burn bright against the darkness. You ever think about leaving this place? She asked him once. He shrugged. Don't know anywhere else to go. You could, she said. There's more than this. He looked at her. And you planning to go back? Her expression softened. I don't even know how. Something unspoken passed between them then. Something fragile, something real. The change came quietly. It wasn't a single moment, but a series of small ones. The way Caleb started noticing her laughter. The way Ayanna began to trust his silence. The way the cabin no longer felt empty. For years, Caleb had lived like a ghost in the desert, surviving, but not living. Ayanna changed that without even trying. She brought something with her that the desert had long taken from him. Hope. But the desert never gave anything without demanding something in return. One morning, Caleb saw movement on the horizon, dust rising fast. His body tensed instantly. Riders. And not the friendly kind. They're coming, he said. Ayanna stepped outside, her eyes narrowing as she saw them. Who are they? Men who don't like strangers, Caleb replied. And like easy targets even less. She looked at him. We can leave. He shook his head. Too late. The riders grew closer, their shapes becoming clear. Caleb reached for his gun. Ayanna stood beside him. I won't run, she said. He glanced at her, surprised. Then he nodded. Good, he said quietly. Because neither will I. What followed changed everything. The fight was fast, brutal, and unforgiving. The desert echoed with gunfire, dust rising into the air like smoke. Caleb moved with the precision of a man who had done this before, but this time, he wasn't alone. Ayanna stood her ground, and together, they survived. After it was over, the silence returned. But it was different now. Not empty, not cold, alive. Caleb looked at her, really looked at her, and realized something he hadn't expected. His life had changed, not because of the fight, not because of the danger, but because of her. You could leave, he said. Find a way back. She shook her head. And you? He hesitated. Then, for the first time in years, he made a choice he hadn't thought possible. I don't want to run anymore, he said. Ayanna smiled softly. Then don't. The desert stretched endlessly around them, unchanged as ever. But something inside both of them had shifted. And for the first time, it didn't feel like survival. It felt like living.